My rent is going up by 68%. What should I do? That's a great question and exactly what we're going to be talking about right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now this is a really interesting scenario. Just a couple days ago, I had one of you right here in the community reach out to me and say, I just received a letter from my landlord. They're going to be raising my rents by 68% from $1,100 per month all the way up to $1,850 each and every month. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Do you have any suggestions? So in this video, I want to talk through the conversation that I had with this person because unfortunately, this is resonating with a lot of people all across the country right now as rents are rising very, very fast all across the country. So let's get into it and discuss all the details of this conversation and what I reached out to them asking them initially after I saw their first message. So let's get into it. All right, so first off, I responded to this person and I said, I want to understand your situation a little bit more clearly to put some context behind what is actually going on here. So first off, I reached out to them and I said, can I ask where you're located in the country? I then asked, what kind of building are you living in? Are you living in a house? Are you living in an apartment? I also asked, how long do you have to respond to this letter? Do you have 2 weeks? Do you have a month? Do you have 60 days? How long do you have to respond to this letter? And next, I also asked them, are you living alone? Do you have roommates? Or do you have the potential to have a roommate if you're currently living alone? So I sent that message out. They responded back and they said they're living in Miami, Florida, which, quick side note, by the way, I asked that person if I can make a dedicated video about this conversation. And they said, yeah, by all means, please make a video about this. Let it be known that rents are rising very fast right now across the country. So I said, can I share some of your information? And they said, yes, by all means, please share my information. So full disclaimer, they did give me permission to share all this information. So just want to throw that out there so that we're all on the same page here. All right, so going back to the conversation. So they responded back and they said, I'm located in Miami, Florida. Okay, well, that's number one right there. Here's what's happening. Over the last couple of years here, many people are migrating to no-tax states. Florida happens to be a no-tax state, so the state of Florida does not have state income taxes. A lot of people from the East Coast all across the country are moving to Florida, along with some of the other states out there that are no-tax states. There's about, I think it's 7 states around the country that are no-tax states, and you can see the trends. A lot of people are moving to no-tax states. So anyway, that was an interesting point that I noticed right there. Miami rents are on fire right now. Miami rents are very, very high, and they're going high very fast. So anyway, that was one key indicator as far as why we're seeing this huge bump for this person. But let's get into some of the other details of this conversation. So they also said, as far as what they're living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Okay, that's good to know as well. Next, are they living alone? Do they have a roommate? Do they have a spouse? What is their situation? It's a single person living in a 2-bedroom apartment. That's key. Okay, so let's keep that in mind right there, right? And then I also asked, how long do you have to respond to this letter? They have until the end of the month to respond to this letter. Okay, well, no, let me take that back. Sorry, the end of next month to respond to the letter. So they have about 6 weeks or so to respond to this letter. So they have a little bit of time. All right, so here's how the conversation went down. First off, I said, okay, number one, you're living in Miami, Florida. This is possibly the hottest rental market across the entire country right now. So that's like problem number one. I guess you could look at it as a problem, or you could look at it as, wow, I'm like in the hottest area of the country when it comes to rental income or rentals. So, that's something you want to take into consideration as well. Miami is a very, very hot place right now when it comes to rents. So that's number one. Next, the other situation is they're living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Okay, I want to take this into consideration here because here's what I said to this person. I said, would you be open to getting a roommate? And if you can get a roommate, that's also something you need to understand. Can you sublet to a roommate? Is that within the rules of your lease? And the person said, yes, I can get a roommate. That is allowed. And yes, I'd be open to it. So here's what I suggested going forward. I said, first off, number one, since you have about 6 weeks to respond to this letter, whether you want to take the offer for the $1,850 rent per month, or if you just walk away from your lease, what is the option here? So I said, since you have about 6 weeks time, here's what I want you to do during this time. And again, these are just suggestions. I'm not telling this person, you should do this, you should do that. I'm simply saying, here's what I would do if I were in your situation. I simply said, do this. Look around in your area. What are other comparable areas or what are other comparable apartments going for in your area? Well, apparently this person has already done this because they said, I've already looked around and many rents are basically at this same level, $1,850 or so for basically what I'm looking for in my area. So, because what I was going to suggest is maybe you should look around in your area. Maybe it's just this one building that you're in. Maybe you can move down the street 2 or 3 blocks and you can be down at the, say, maybe 1,400, 1,500. Maybe, you can bring your rents down a little bit. It'll still be higher than the 1,100 or, what's going on. I also wanted to understand what is the rental market in your area as far as is $1,100 way below the market? Is it right on cue for where that market should be or where is it supposed to be? And the person also did admit that yes, their rent that they were paying at the time, the $1,100 or that they're currently paying right now is probably a little bit lower than the average rents in that area. So with that being said, yes, we're probably expecting rents to go up, but that's a huge jump. $750 a month is a lot, right? I think we can all agree going from $1,100 to $1,850 a month is a huge jump. That's $750. Not many people can swing that, right? So I think a lot of people can probably agree that's a huge jump and not too many people can actually make that jump going forward. So what I suggest to this person is number one, look around in your area, see if the current rent that you're paying now, the $1,100 is high, is it low, is it right on par, where is it? Well, the person did that research and they said it's actually a little bit low for the area. Okay, well, we know that for sure. Okay, so we understand that. Next, I wanted to understand, can you look around? Can you look out maybe 2 blocks, 3 blocks, a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles? Can you move out from where you're located, maybe into a little bit more of an affordable area that is still good, it's still safe, it's still clean, and it's still within the parameters of what you're looking for? So the person said, yeah, absolutely, I can look around. Because they have so much time in their favor, they have about 6 weeks to respond to this letter. I said, you should probably look around. Even if you have no intentions of moving, just look around. And then next, I also suggested, maybe you should consider looking into getting a roommate. Even if you split it 50-50, that'd still be like $925 a month. That'd be less than what you were paying by $175. Wouldn't that be pretty nice? And I said, even if you didn't split it 50-50, let's just say that you pay, say, I don't know, $1,000 or even $1,100, and then your roommate pays the other, say, $850 or $750 a month. What do you think about that? And the person said, well, I don't really want to live with anybody. I totally agree. You probably don't want to live with, a roommate, but at the end of the day, they said, I could probably deal with this. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. The apartment has enough room. There's 2 bedrooms. I don't use the other bedroom other than for storing stuff. Okay, well, that's kind of a key indicator right there, too. If you're not using the second bedroom for anything and it's just a place that you store stuff, you know what? If it could mean that you could stay living where you currently are, maybe go through all that stuff that you're storing and figure out what do you actually need or what can you donate, what can you possibly get rid of, and maybe start renting that room out for $750 a month, $850 a month, or maybe even just split the rent right down the middle. $1,850 divided by 2 is still $925, right? So that actually come in less. So anyway, the conversation turned out to be really productive, and the two of us actually came up with some really good ideas. And by the way, they love the idea of getting a roommate and actually splitting the rent down the middle, because then the person thought, wait, if I'm paying $1,100 now and I'm living by myself, even if I sign for a 1-year lease at $1,850 a month and we split it down the middle for another roommate, they're probably ahead because all of a sudden now they're getting a place to live for $925 a month. I'm getting ahead because I get to stay where I'm at, and I also get to pay $175 less per month for my rent than what I previously was paying right now at $1,100 a month. Makes sense? So it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. The person that's living there right now wins because they get to stay where they are and they get to reduce their rent by effectively $175 per month, even though they're going to be getting a roommate. So it's kind of like a give and take here type of situation. Yes, you're going to bring in a roommate, but at the same time, you're going to reduce your rent. And then the person thought, hey, this is kind of exciting because now I can use that extra $175 per month to maybe pay for some extra food, to put some gas in my car, to maybe pay my utilities, to keep my air conditioning on at the temperature that I want. So the person started to get really excited about these ideas. So again, I'm not saying like I'm some hero because I'm certainly not a hero here. I'm just trying to talk through the situation. But here's the major dilemma that this person has in front of them now is to find a qualified roommate. And when I say qualified, I mean somebody that this person feels like they could live with for at least a year and feel like, this is manageable. I think the two of us could live together. That's what I mean by qualified is basically meet a bunch of people and figure out, okay, this person seems like we kind of, I don't know, kind of match the most, and we can probably live with each other, whatever the situation is. And so that's what that person's going to do. So we're going to keep in contact. I gave that person my contact info, my email address, by the way, and I said, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. I'd love to come back with you in maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks from right now and see where you're at. Did you find a roommate? Did you move? Did you find a place a mile away, 2 miles away that's a lot cheaper that you can move to? Like, what's the situation? Oh, by the way, one of the suggestions that I also did make to this person is I said, here's the deal. Let's just be real for a second. You're living in a 2-bedroom apartment and you're storing stuff in the second bedroom. You're not utilizing the second bedroom other than for storage. Can you maybe downsize to a 1-bedroom apartment, maybe in the same building or possibly around the corner, down a couple blocks, maybe a mile or two away? Can you do that? And the person said, well, that's actually a really good thought too. And I said, why don't you start looking into not only trying to find a roommate that you can share the place with that you're currently in, but start looking in your own building. Maybe you can move to a 1-bedroom apartment and your rents could be reduced by, quite a bit from that $1,850 a month. It'd still probably be higher than the $1,100 that you're currently paying, but maybe, just maybe, you could jack your rent up to say $1,300 a month. Yes, it's still gonna be more, but it's gonna be way less than the $1,850 that they're currently, or that they're going to be paying as a result of staying where they are. So a lot of really good kind of suggestions came out of this conversation. The two of us going back and forth with each other came up with a lot of good ideas. So the fact of the matter is, you got to be creative with this. And one more thing that I said as well, and I threw this out there, this is like a little pro tip. You can negotiate your rent. Most people don't realize this. You can negotiate your rent. So if your landlord comes to you and says, hey, your rent is going up however many dollars, go back to them and say, hey, I'm willing to sign a lease, but can you consider this much? And by the way, go big for the first suggestion. So first, let me give you an example really quickly. Let's just say that they're coming back to you and say that we're going to raise your rents by $300 per month. Maybe you $300 per month. Let's just say, well, let's just use the example that I'm using in this video instead. So let's just say for this person, okay, so the rent is $1,100. The landlord is suggesting $1,850. Now, what I would suggest to this person is go back to them and say, I'll sign a lease for 1 year. Can you do $1,700 or can you do $1,650? Something like that. And the landlord's likely going to come back and say, no, I can't do $1,650. No, I can't do $1,700, but I can do $1,800 or I can do $1,750. The fact of the matter is, even if you can shave off $50 or $100 per month just by negotiating a little bit, it's going to save you, say, $600 a year if they take off $50, or maybe even $100 a year if they take off a full $100 per month. So it's totally worth it. You can negotiate your rent. So just keep that in mind too as a little pro tip. And I would suggest asking for a way lower price for it first to build in a little bit of negotiating room. Because if you come back and say, can you do $1,850? Or sorry, can you do $1,800? They're probably going to say, no, I can't. Okay. That doesn't leave you any room for negotiation. So anyway, just want to throw that out there as well. So I hope this video helps you out, but I'm going to keep in contact with this person. I'm excited to see what goes on here. Do they move to a 1-bedroom? Do they move across town? Do they find a roommate? Do they negotiate their rent? What's the situation here, right? There's a lot of different variables, so I'm excited to continue to keep an eye on this. And of course, I'll keep you updated as I do get more details on this. But this is happening all across the country right now. Rents are very, very high. In fact, I just saw an article just the other day that rents in New York right now, I think in Manhattan, they said, is $5,000. That's the average rent in New York right now, $5,000. This is a record for rents in New York. That's incredible, $5,000. Not many people can swing that, right? So anyway, the article also went on to say that people living in New York are spending 90% of their income on rent. How are you supposed to eat? That's a good question, right? So anyway, so I hope this video helps you out. Again, keep all these pro tips in mind right here. If you get a letter from your landlord, just keep this in mind. Also, make sure to stay tuned. Subscribe down below. I'll give you an update here on this person's situation in maybe 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. Whenever I get back in contact with this person after they've had a chance to kind of run through some of these ideas and figure out what they actually do. But I'm kind of excited to see what this person does. So anyway, you know who you are, which by the way, you're probably watching this video. Huge shout out. Thanks so much for having the conversation. I really do appreciate it. It was an awesome conversation. And I think both of us came out of that pretty excited with the ideas that we came up with. So anyway, hope this video helps you out. Again, thank you so much for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Share this video with your friends, family, social media. Subscribe down below and go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, have a good one, enjoy your day, and I'll catch you again later in the next video.